Alright, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah wa ba'd. So we begin the life story of Prophet Ayoub, who is called in English, they call him Job, because the J is usually like a Y sound, you know. So if we look at the life story, most of the prophets that we've seen so far in the Qur'an, they called their people to Allah in a very similar way. So Allah doesn't tell the details about Prophet Ayyub's life. We only know just a few things. There's just a few verses about Prophet Ayyub because it's probably very similar to the other messengers. When we covered Prophet Hud, and we covered Prophet Saleh, and we covered Prophet Nuh, all the different prophets, when they're going back and forth with their people, the arguments are almost the same. You're seeing the same back and forth, you're seeing the same kind of reasoning happening. So when it comes to Ayyub, even though he was a messenger of Allah, Allah doesn't tell us the entire story. He just tells us one aspect of his life that he wants to focus on that is different from the other messengers that we've seen. So, all these people, they called their people to Allah. But Ayyub, the part of his life story that we know is about a very difficult test, a personal test that Allah put him through. Now, why did Allah test Prophet Ayyub? He's a messenger of Allah. Allah loves him, obviously. But Allah tests messengers, and Allah tests the people that He loves with more difficult tests than others. And sometimes we think the opposite. We say, oh, Allah loves the prophets. Allah loves the messengers. So therefore, He's not going to let them go through difficulties in life. But actually, it's the other way around. The prophets and the messengers and the ones that Allah loves the most, He puts them through even more difficult challenges. Why? Not as a punishment. It's because He loves them more. And because it's like a teacher. If you've ever been a teacher, or if you had a good teacher, and you were a really good student, the best teachers, they challenge their best students in the class with tougher questions. They don't give the best students in the class easier questions. So I'm just going to give you automatically a good grade because you're the best student in the class. That's not the way it works. You give them extra credit assignments. You see what they're capable of. You try and push them a little bit to develop themselves. So the same way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested those whom He loves, like Prophet Ayyub, with even more difficult tests. So Ayyub lived in Syria, around that area. And he was very healthy. He was wealthy. He was well off as a person. And he had a very large family, and they were a very well-connected family. And so he's very happy. Allah has given him so many blessings. But Allah decided to test him by taking away all of those blessings. So somehow, he became very ill. We don't know exactly what his illness was, but he got very ill and he lost his health. And then somehow he lost all of his wealth. We don't know what happened. There was a business deal or somebody stole his money, but he lost all of his wealth. And then his family left him because they thought that he has some type of contagious bad luck. Maybe they were scared of his illness, but they're also scared that so many bad things are happening to him, we think this might somehow get us too. So we're just going to stay away from him. So he lost his health, he lost his wealth, he lost his family, all in a very short span of time. And the only one that stayed by his side was his wife, who needed to take care of him because he was very ill. He was very sick. He could, barely get up. He could barely move. Now, what would people normally do? Normally, they would complain. They would blame Allah. They would say, why do I have to go through all of this? Of course, this was Ayyub's test. How is he going to respond to this difficult situation that Allah put him in? And so Ayyub did not blame Allah. He didn't go around complaining to other people, I'm so difficult, it's so hard for me, I'm in pain, I'm going through difficulties, and it's so horrible. He didn't do that. Ayyub was patient, and he was patient for a very long time. And what did he do? He kept on praying to Allah. He kept on worshiping Allah, because that's part of the test. A lot of people, when they're hit with some difficulty or something like that, some of them, they say, you know what, I don't feel like praying anymore. I'm in pain. I'm sick. I have the flu. I'm not feeling well. I'm going to skip prayer. And that's part of the test. You're supposed to do the opposite. You're supposed to be praying even more. You're supposed to continue to at least pray. and you keep on asking Allah to cure you. So Ayoub did that. And Ayoub used to pray to Allah, and one of the du'as that he used to make, one of the prayers that he used to make, is he used to ask Allah, he says, "Oh Allah, I have been hit with this severe illness." And then he would shout out, he'd say, "Oh Allah, I'm suffering in pain. Like it really hurts. And you are the most merciful of the merciful. So please relieve me of this." And he kept on making these prayers for a very long time. Different wording, kept on praying until finally his test was over. And Allah told him that he's passed this test and now he's going to be cured. So Allah told him what to do to get this cure and to solve these problems. So Allah said, "Take your foot, stomp on the ground with your foot." So he did it. He just stomped on the ground and some special water came out, and this was healing water. And he drank from it and he poured some water all over himself like taking a bath, and his illness went away and he was completely cured. Like a terminal illness that he had completely went away. And then Allah sent pieces of gold to him. We don't know exactly how it happened, but pieces of gold just started raining down and appearing out of nowhere. And he grabbed it and he collected it. And this was his money to keep. It didn't belong to anybody else. So now he got all of his wealth back. And then when his family saw this, hey, this guy's okay, everything's good, his family also came back to him. So he got back his health, he got back his wealth, he got back his family. This was from the mercy that Allah, he's been praying to Allah for such a long time. And Ayoub was a thankful servant. So he thanked Allah for getting all of this back. And this is all we know about the story of Prophet Ayoub in the Qur'an. Are there any questions about that? No questions. Such a short story that there's no questions. Okay, next prophet. Prophet Yunus, or in English known as Jonah. So Prophet Yunus was a messenger of Allah, and Allah chose him to be a messenger of Allah, and he was sent to the people of Nineveh. And Nineveh was in Mesopotamia. And Mesopotamia is modern day Iraq, region of Iraq. And so he went to his people just like every other prophet. And he told them, should only worship Allah. But his people rejected him. So now Allah, rather than giving the whole details of the conversation about how they talked back and forth, Allah focuses just on one situation. He zooms in on one other part. And that is, Yunus said, these people are not listening to me. So he just got frustrated and he said, I'm leaving. So he packed up his stuff. And he said, I'm going to go to another city that might actually accept the message from Allah. So he packed up his things, he went away, he boarded a ship, and he sailed away. And he said, this city is a lost cause. There's no point of even talking to this city because they're not gonna pay attention to the message. They're gonna be just like the people of Hud and the people of Salih and the people of Nuh and the people of Lut. So Yunus said, I'm in the same boat. Just like all those other prophets, their people didn't listen to them. I'm in the same situation. I'm just gonna leave. But he didn't ask Allah for permission. So he left. And while he's on the boat and he's sailing away from his people, from his land, a storm came. And the ship was now in danger. It was a very severe storm. And the ship was fully loaded. And it was going to sink. It was very dangerous. So everybody was afraid of drowning. Nobody wants to die. So they decided that the only thing we can do to save ourselves is we're going to take one person and we're going to throw him overboard. Not because one person is too heavy and the ship is too heavy or something like that. They used to believe in those times that when there's a severe storm, they believed in all sorts of idols and superstitions and everything. So they believed that when there's a superstorm going on, the sea is mad. And you have to make the sea happy. So what do? It wants a human sacrifice. So you have to throw one person over, and once you sacrifice one person, the sea will be happy, and it'll become calm, and the storm will go away. So they said, this is what we're going to have to do. This was their custom, because they had weird superstitions that they believed in. So they said, one person has to be thrown overboard. Who is it going to be? So they decided that we have to decide who's going to be thrown overboard randomly. We're not going to we're going to be fair to everybody. we're going to randomly pick one person. And the way in which they would do that is they would play a game. Like today, people play rock, paper, scissors. There's a tiny little bit of skill involved. Or they say, pick a number. Or you take like a bunch of numbers, 1 through 10, write them, put them in a bag, shake it up, and you randomly pick it out. So they did the same thing. They had these pieces of like straw or something, and one piece was different from the others. And you're not allowed to look at what you're picking, and everyone randomly picks something. And the one who has the wrong piece, they're the one who's guilty, and they're going to be thrown overboard. So they went and they played this game. And out of all the people on the ship, who gets chosen? It's Yunus. So now Yunus has to be thrown overboard. He has no choice. If he doesn't, they're going to kill him. They're going to pick him up and they're going to toss him over. So the moment this happened, he realized this is not a coincidence. This is definitely a sign from Allah, because I've done something wrong. I wasn't supposed to leave the city because I was frustrated with my people because they weren't listening to me. But I did not ask Allah for permission. If you look at all the other prophets, Hud, Lut, Nuh, Salih, all of them, Allah told them to leave the city. Allah did not tell Yunus to leave the city. Yunus got frustrated and said, I'm in a similar situation than these people are not listening, so he left on his own. So he realized that he shouldn't have done that. And so he asked Allah for forgiveness, but he's already condemned to death. So now he's gonna have to jump overboard, and he has no other choice. And there's no way when he jumps overboard, he's not gonna be able to swim to the shore, because it's a storm and they're far away from land. So there's no way he's gonna swim, so he's basically gone. So he makes his dua, he makes his final prayer, he jumps overboard, jumps over the ship, and he goes into the sea. And as soon as he landed in the sea, probably not gonna last more than a minute without drowning. And immediately, as soon as he got into the sea, a whale comes and swallows Yunus whole. Without chewing him, without touching the teeth, he literally gets swallowed into the whale. Now, this is something that's known about people who study whales. They know that they can do this. They can actually swallow large objects or even large creatures whole, and they get slowly digested inside the stomach of the whale over a long period of time, or they get spit back out. So this is not something that has never happened. It's not like it's a miracle because of the timing and how it happened and who it happened to. But whales have this capacity to actually do this. They can swallow something really, really large and then even spit it out sometimes. So Yunus got swallowed by this whale, and he thought he was dead. I mean, you can imagine, he wakes up and he sees, like, he just opens his eyes and it's completely dark. So Yunus thought, probably I drowned and I died and this is it, it's over. But then he realized he's inside the stomach of the whale, and the whale went underwater, and there was enough air for him to breathe while he was in the stomach of the whale. And this is how whales function. Anyone who studies whales, they know that they have enough air inside, even when they go underwater, that there's enough air inside for something to live inside of the stomach for a little while. And so now Yunus is sitting in the inside of a whale, and he's slowly being digested by the stomach acids inside the whale. So it's hurting his skin. Even if it doesn't touch it, if you come close to acid, you can feel the heat coming from the acid onto your skin. And so now it's hurting him. So he is now in pain. He's in complete darkness. He's in 3 layers of darkness. Number 1, he's inside of a whale. Number 2, the whale is underwater, and there's darkness underwater. There's no light underwater. And number 3, it's dark outside. So he is in 3 separate layers of darkness, pitch black. He can't see anything, and he's feeling the stomach acid basically coming onto his skin. And while he's in this situation, Yunus remained in that state for a while. And what was he doing while he was inside the whale? He wasn't just panicking. He knew this is a test from Allah. So he started praying. He prayed in whatever way he could pray. Probably he's a little bit shaky or whatever. And he actually went into sajda. He went into sujood. He went into prostration, and he continued praying to Allah in that difficult place. So he prayed in a place that nobody will ever be able to pray again in this world. Because if somebody gets swallowed, they're probably not going to be a Muslim. Somebody has been swallowed before, but probably not going to be a Muslim. And if they are, they're probably panicking and they're definitely not praying. So Yunus prayed in a place that no one will ever be able to pray. And so Yunus realized his mistake and he started making dua. And he made this special dua to Allah. He said, "Oh Allah, there is no God besides you. Glory to you. I have made a big mistake." Meaning I've done something wrong. I shouldn't have left without consulting you. And so Allah eventually saved him. How? Allah made the whale spit him out. And if the whale spit him out in the middle of the ocean, he would just drown and die. So the miracle part was not only being swallowed by the whale, not only living inside the whale and praying inside the whale, but the whale spit him out near the shore. And so his body washed up on the shore. And his skin was damaged. And it was daytime now. So a long time had passed. Like a few hours at least had passed. And his skin was damaged. And so his skin, if you have damaged skin, it's been burnt or something, you're going to find that the sun is going to start to burn your skin even more. So Yunus is extremely weak. He's barely lying down there. He's lying on the shore, someplace. We don't know exactly where it is. And then Allah caused him a tree. There was a tree nearby. So he managed to crawl close to that tree and he was able to get some shade from the tree so that his skin wouldn't burn under the sun because it had been damaged. And eventually his body started to heal after a while. And so once he had enough energy left in him, Yunus returned back to his city. He found a way to get back to his original city. And when he came back to his city, he was shocked. He didn't realize that after he left, most of his people, they were so sad. They respected Yunus so much. They were sad that he left. They actually accepted the message of Islam. That was like the last thing they needed. And he's like, "You people you're not going to trust in Allah." And he left. And as soon as they left, as soon as he was gone, they started regretting their action. And they accepted Yunus as a prophet even though he was gone. And they started only praying to Allah. And the entire city believed. Now this is unlike any of the other cities. All the other cities were destroyed when the prophets left because they were told to leave. Here, Yunus was not told to leave. And he leaves. And when he comes back, instead of the city being destroyed, the entire city is Muslim. How many people accepted Islam? It says in the Qur'an, over 100,000 people accepted Islam. And he wasn't even there. And so when he came back, he was shocked. So this city, Nineveh, it was the first major city to believe in one of the prophets of Allah that we know of from all the prophets that we've covered so far. And so this was an amazing thing. So Yunus was given the nickname of Dhunnun. Dhu means like the possessor of or the man of. Noon is a fish. So he's known as the man of the large fish, basically, or the whale. A whale is in the category of fish in the Arabic language. So Yunus learned a very important lesson, and we all learn a very important lesson. And that is, never give up on your people, because they might actually be an exception and change their ways. They seemed like, when he was first talking to them for such a long time, he thought these people are a lost cause. But sometimes you may never know. You think someone is a lost cause, and after so many years, all of a sudden, they may change. And this is exactly what happened with the people of Yunus. So a very important lesson that we learned from his story. Any questions about Prophet Yunus' story? Yes? Was it what? Yeah, it's mentioned in the Quran, 100,000 people or more. Oh, yazidun, yes. And that also kind of gives us a perspective of how large the cities were at that time. You know, so they were not just like villages. This is a large city. All of them accepted Islam. Oh, yazidun. Any other questions? Okay, then we'll start with the story of Prophet Musa and Harun. All right, so the children, if we go back to Prophet Yaqub, the children of Prophet Yaqub, they had all moved to Egypt. This is over 1,000 years ago. They all moved to Egypt. And the people, they loved, the Egyptian people, they loved and they respected the children of Yaqub because they loved and they respected Yusuf because Yusuf was the one that saved them from the famine. And Yusuf was the main minister in Egypt. And so his entire family, at the end of the story of Yusuf, his entire family, all the brothers, his parents, they all moved to Egypt. So now they're living in Egypt. And all of them, those children, those sons, they had children. And their children had more children. And so eventually their family started growing larger and larger, and they were living in Egypt. And Yaqub passed away, and Yusuf passed away, and the brothers passed away. And so all of these people, they became known as the descendants or the children or grandchildren, great-grandchildren of Prophet Yaqub. And Prophet Yaqub had a nickname. His nickname was Israel or Israel. So they became known as Bani Israel, the children of Israel. And the children of Israel means that they're from the lineage and the descendants of Prophet Yaqub, Prophet Jacob. So this is what they were known as. And sometimes instead of saying children of Israel, they also say the Israelites, referring to the same people that they're coming from the lineage of Prophet Yaqub. And the reason why they were given this title is it reminded them that they came from a great family. They came from a family of a prophet, and this prophet, had his father was a prophet, his son was a prophet, his grandfather was a prophet. I mean, this is a very blessed family. So when you say children of Israel, it means that they're coming from a family where there were so many prophets, so that these people should be living up to the standard like their ancestors were as well. They were prophets. Eventually, Yusuf passed away. Centuries passed, and the people of Egypt, they forgot over time what Yusuf had done and how Yusuf had saved the land of Egypt. And eventually they started losing respect for these Israelites as well. So they started treating the Israelites like they're foreigners, like they don't even belong in this land. What are you guys doing here in Egypt? You're not Egyptians. You shouldn't be here. And then a very evil man became the king of Egypt. And all the ancient kings of Egypt, they were known as Pharaoh. This was the title given to all of them. But one of them, now at this time, was a really evil man. And we don't know exactly who he was, which one of them he was, whether he was Ramses or one of the other pharaohs in history. But this guy, what we know is he hated the Israelites a lot. And he made all of them slaves. And he treated them like animals. Basically, they need to work really hard for him. They need to build these pyramids and they need to build these buildings. But they got very little money in return. So Fir'aun, we just call him Fir'aun because that's his title. So this guy Fir'aun, he was very arrogant. And he used to say to people, he's like, look everyone, I am the most powerful ruler in the world. I control all of Egypt. And Egypt was one of the most powerful lands or civilizations at that time. So he used to go around and say, I'm the most powerful man on earth. There's nobody more powerful than me. And he wanted people to bow down to him instead of bowing down to Allah. And so the Egyptians, they prayed to all different things. And most of them, they said, okay, yeah, we'll pray to you, our leader. You are so powerful and we're scared of you. So they prayed. But the Israelites, they refused to bow down to Fir'aun because they knew that we should only worship Allah. And they're coming from a lineage where they had so many prophets that taught them, don't pray to anybody besides Allah. So you can imagine Fir'aun is even more furious. He hates them even more. Not only are they foreigners, but on top of that, they don't even bow down to him. They refuse to do that. So one day, an Egyptian fortune teller went to Fir'aun and he told him, he said, I've seen a vision. A child from these Israelite people is going to be born in this year. And when he grows up, he's going to destroy your kingdom. And so Fir'aun, he believed this prophecy. He believed this, not really a prophecy. He believed this fortune teller saying that this was going to happen. So he got furious. And he said, I'm going to stop this from happening. So he went and told all of his guards and his police, I want you to kill every single baby boy that is born to the Israelites in that year. So he sent out his special forces and his police, and they went and they searched every home for any Israelite woman that was pregnant. And they would wait to see when the baby comes out. Is it a boy or a girl? If it was a girl, they let it live. If it was a boy, they would kill this child immediately. And so thousands of babies were killed that year because of this prophecy, because of this, this fortune teller saying that something's going to happen in the future. So many children were killed at the time. But one child survived. So all these precautions that Pharaoh took, he went and said, I'm going to have all my security guards go. We're going to kill off every single baby boy so that that one child cannot grow up and take over his kingdom. Allah wanted one child to survive. And that baby was named Musa. And so Musa's mother, she managed to hide her pregnancy from the Egyptian police. She probably wore like some, loose clothing or something like that. So people didn't recognize. She probably didn't go out of the house very much. But once the baby's born, eventually they're going to find that this baby was born. So where's she going to hide the baby? I mean, the police are going to eventually find, there are spies as well. They're going to go and take a bribe from the police and say, hey, oh yeah, here's 1,000 gold pieces if you tell us any child that's hiding. So it's going to be very difficult to hide a baby in a place where there's police and secret agents searching all around the place. So how's she going to save this baby? But Allah helped her. Allah somehow communicated with the mother of Musa, and He gave her this special signal. And He said, when your baby is born, you're going to put him into a box, like a little box or like a basket type thing, and you're going to let him float down the Nile River. And so Allah promised her that this little baby Musa is going to later return back to her safely. So she put her trust in this communication that she received from Allah. But this is a crazy idea, right? What if the box flips over? Where's the baby going to end up? What if the police find him? There's so many things that could go wrong. But there's no other options. Musa's mother has no other choice because there's nothing else to do here. So she put her trust in Allah. And when she delivered Musa and the baby came out, she did exactly what Allah had inspired her to do. So Allah told her, give him a little bit of food, which is milk from the breast, and then put him into the river in the box. So she did that. And she told her daughter, because Musa had a sister, so she told her older daughter, follow the box from a distance and see where this box ends up. Maybe we can go and collect him later on or something like that. So she did that. She fed Musa, she put him in the box, the sister was ready, she put him into the river, and right when the box started floating away, she started panicking. She became frightened. She says, I made a big mistake. I don't think I should have done this. But it was a momentary panic. And then Allah calmed her heart, and she was patient, and she let it go. And so the box is floating down, the sister is following it, and it's going along. And Fir'aun, he had a huge palace which was near the edge of the Nile River. And his wife, Asiya, her name was Asiya, she was the queen. And she's at the palace, and she's walking near the river. And she noticed this strange box in the water, all of a sudden floating around. So she asked her servants, go get that box for me. Let's see what's inside that box. And when they arrived, they found little baby Musa inside the box. And one of the servants said, we can tell this is an Israelite baby. We have to kill it immediately. We have orders from Fir'aun that every single baby boy has to be killed. But when Asiya saw the baby, she picked up the child and she was immediately attached to it. And she hugged it and she told her husband Fir'aun, she said, don't kill this child. Let's adopt this child as our own, because they didn't have any children. She said, this child will make us so happy. And so Allah put a special love for Musa into the queen's heart. And now Musa is going to be saved. So Fir'aun said, you know what? She's insisting on it. Okay, fine, let's make her happy. We're going to make this one little exception for this one little baby. And Fir'aun picked the exact child that's going to eventually cause his downfall. So we'll leave the story at that, inshallah, and continue next week. Does anyone have Any questions? Okay, inshallah. Then we'll see you next week at 8 o'clock. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم.